Welcome back to our first chapter Friday of this term. Today we'll be reading Zoo Boy and the Jewel Thieves by Sophie Thompson. Prologue. Hello, dear reader. Are you sitting, lying down, standing on your head, eating a jam sandwich comfortably? Then I'll begin. I want to introduce you to a boy called Vince. Some of you might have met him before, so you must forgive me if I am repeating myself. But for those who don't know him, not very long ago and far away on his 8th birthday, Vince discovered he could talk to animals. I know! What a turn-up! And this is a boy who previously didn't even like animals. Life can be very cheeky, can't it? Anyway, Vince lives at number 21 Albuquerque Street, and his house backs onto the zoo where his dad is the zookeeper. In fact, there is a gate at the bottom of their garden that lets them into the zoo, once they have sung the secret zookeeper's song, obviously. Vince's dad is cheered up to no end since Vince's talking to animals revelation. He had been a bit blue, you see, as Vince's mum recently ran off with the circus and, more to that point, a lion-taming man called Reg, who is very muscly and has no sense of humor. Tragic. Vince's Gran also lives at number 21. Gran used to be an entertainer and travel around the country, dancing and singing in pubs and clubs with a troupe called the Moonbeams. She is a wonderful woman. I think you would get on. Gran gets on with everybody except, coincidentally, with someone in this story who you shall hear more about in a moment. I'm pretty sure that's all you need to know for now about the residents of number 21 Albuquerque Street, dear reader, so now I can start to tell you about Vince's new adventure. Chapter 1. 6 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Why mean? Let's call it generous time. A blue light wiped across Vince's closed eyes and blap, he was awake. What was that, Vince wondered, padding to the window. It was a police car parked at number 19 right next door where Mrs. Fiddlecranick lived. Mrs. Fiddlecranick was a rather unapproachable, smarty-pants lady who apparently had inherited a lot of money from a relative who sold heaters, that wouldn't melt an igloo, to Eskimos. She wore a different hat daily and also had a plethora of jewels, but she never wore them because they were far too precious, which just seemed plain silly to Gran. I mean, what is the point of that? Gran's jewels are only pretend, but she wears them all the time. She says, very wisely I think, that she doesn't need the excuse of a special occasion because every day is a special occasion. Just as Vince was wondering what had happened, Jerry, the local copper, emerged from Mrs. Fiddlecranick's elaborate front door. Don't you worry, Mrs. F. We'll get your precious jewels returned in no time. I feel sure of it. I will pay a substantial reward, all the Swiss roll they can eat, Mrs. Fiddlecranick exclaimed, spluttering like a tap with a wonky washer. Well, there was an offer. Vince had always quite fancied being a super sleuth, and he had always been particularly partial to a bit of Swiss roll. So he got his diary, called Derek, off the shelf and started a new entry. Dear Derek, there has been a robbery, would you believe it, right next door to our house. I've decided I must crack the case, and I will be employing some of my friends at the zoo to help me, I hope. You can be my investigation notebook. All super sleuths must take notes while looking very serious and scratching their heads. I am going to do all of these things. Let's go. Vince got dressed and put Derek into his pocket, along with a pencil and a small magnifying glass that had come in his stamp collection kit. All super sleuths magnified things, it was a well-known fact. Then, feeling very important and curiously clever, he strode off with an expression of fantastic determination on his face. Once he got to the bottom of the garden, he let himself into the zoo with the secret zookeeper's song. Horace the badger greeted him at the other side of the gate. In case you're wondering, Horace is wild, but chooses to live at the zoo. This is because secretly he's rather fond of all the animals. I smelt you approaching, Horace proffered. Charming, said Vince. Don't worry, you're extremely fragrant. I'm just a champ at smelling, retorted Horace rather haughtily, adding, You look very pinky and perky for this time in the morning. What's occurring? There's been a jewel robbery next door at Mrs. Fiddlecranick's. "You're not serious," said Horace. "Yes. The police were there just now, but I want to solve the crime because Mrs. Fiddlecranick is offering Swiss roll as a reward." "I meant you're not serious about that ridiculous name. Mrs. Fiddlecranick. Were her parents comedians?" Vance tried to remain focused. "Let's confer with the group, Horace. See who would be a worthy sidekick." Horace was unimpressed. "Jewel thieves, super sleuths, hold your horses. Just because you can talk to animals now, it doesn't mean you're suddenly going to become Colin the crime cracker. But by the way, I do happen to have a rather fetching cape," he added meaningfully. "I think it's only fair that I open this job opportunity up to the group," Vince replied. "Spoil sport," chuntered Horace. "Why does everything have to be fair?" If you'd like to know more about this crime and Vance's attempts to solve it, then you can find Zoo Boy and the Jewel Thieves by Sophie Thompson in YF THO.